Well, I have been looking forward to sharing this episode with you. Many of you know that I'm all about the authentic experience of embodied spirituality for women, especially. And you might also know that most of the spiritual traditions today, with ancient roots, are mostly male lineages. So when I came across an English translation of a text on the wisdom of the Tantric yoginis, I was really curious to find out more, so I asked the author to be a guest on this episode. Kashmir Shaivism is a collection of traditions from as early as the 8th century in India. And David Dubois, who can translate the sacred texts direct from Sanskrit, is the guest speaker for today's episode. As a PhD philosopher, he also likes to bring in Stoic and Christian parallels with Kashmir Shaivism, which is interesting and I think really empowering for Western people to connect with wisdom closer to their own ancestral background. David's presence, his words, and the energy between his words show that he's not only a scholar, but also an embodied practitioner who is dedicated to living in the deep practice of these teachings. We have since recorded another episode too, and I'm supporting David to come teach live in Bali and Thailand sometime soon. The dates are still being arranged at the moment. I feel what David has to share from the traditional Indian Tantra as a holistic path is really important in a time when around the world in neo-tantric workshops, there is still an obsessive fixation on the sexual energy practices in what I would say is often a misogynistic approach because it's happening without any real honoring of Shakti or of women. Freeing the flow of sexual energy is really important, but it's not the entirety of the tantric path. And when it's happening without emotional, psychological, and spiritual maturity or any real spiritual transmission, what it ends up doing in neo-tantric work is re-traumatize people. It leaves women open to abuse and it replicates the abuse of power in men over and over again. So, although I very much understand the draw to radical practices to feel alive and to feel more, if it doesn't also come with teachings on higher states of consciousness, then it's not the real thing of Tantra, which can show people the way to elevate themselves from the limitations of their conditioning into non dual states of consciousness, when it also has deep teachings from these traditional origins. So I feel really grateful for the wisdom and the generosity of David bringing his attention to this Beyond Patriarchal Sex project and for what has unfolded since we met for the first time here in this conversation with David Dubois. Welcome, everyone, to this provocative and heartfelt podcast, Beyond Patriarchal Sex, a place for both women and men to elevate ourselves, finding out what it takes to live beyond our conditioning and assumptions, not only for ourselves, but also for the coming generations. My name is Devashi Shakti, and you are warmly welcome to be part of these conversations. Well, I feel very blessed today, everyone, to be here with David Dubois. Thank you so much for meeting with me from France. Are you in Paris?
Yes.
Yes, a very, very special place in my heart. I loved it there. So I'll read a little bit about you that I read on your website. And so David Dubois has a doctorate in comparative philosophy. He has translated over 25 books from Sanskrit into French and recently English, and I'm personally very grateful for that. And he has 30 years experience in non-dual Shaivism of Kashmir, which is a luminous tantric tradition from India that embraces everyday experience, the body, and the arts as paths of awakening. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, David?
No, that's already too much. Please, let's proceed.
So I just happened to come across your latest book, I believe, Way of the Yogini. And I'm so happy that you could bring that into English because I know you've translated many books, or I now see that you have, but they've all been into French from Sanskrit, and I don't read French at this point. So I'm really enjoying your book. And it was Susan Bratton in episode 6, I think it was. We were chatting afterwards, and she wanted to have more discussion around the polarity in intimate partnership and masculine and feminine, and there's lots happening in the modern world, and people wanting to delete certain things and invent new words. And my input was, um, sure, and maybe it's worthwhile to have a look into the real meaning behind these terms and where their roots really are in
Mm,
ancient tradition. Because
mm,
my understanding is that there's a lot of misunderstanding, misinterpretation that a lot of Western people have. And I love that you understand Sanskrit so well. Yeah, there's so much wisdom and knowledge there to be gained. And so to be someone that can actually read it and understand it and interpret it is something very special. So
mm,
in terms of the confusion that's out there currently in this modern crazy times around masculine and feminine, I've heard so many different kind of bizarre things. Some people claiming that men don't have an inner feminine, and it's the masculine and the feminine and the man and the woman, which is incredibly limiting and misguided. And um, people interpreting things in certain ways that lock them basically into patriarchal structures without probably realizing that they're re-imprinting that into
mm,
themselves. And so, yeah, what would you like to share around kind of enlightening everyone on
mhm.
these terminologies and what they really mean?
Well, I wish I could. Let's say a few things first. That all Tantra is not about the feminine. There is much patriarchal Tantra, a basis which is there, which is called Hinduism, if you want. Most of Hinduism is Tantra, but patriarchal Tantra. That is, the male god is at the top,
Yes.
and the female is more in the background, abstract. It is only in some special traditions within Hinduism that the feminine comes to the to the forefront. And especially at the top of the tree, I like to call it the big tree of Tantra, because there are so many branches. At the top of that tree, there is the tradition of the yoginis, where everything is feminine. That is, Shakti is Shakti, but Shiva, or the god, is also Shakti. Everything is Shakti. Everything is different faces of Shakti. And what Shakti means? Shakti means experience, or Shakti means what a thing can do. It's very practical, very pragmatic, like fire. Fire can throw light, dry something, cook, burn. This is all Shaktis. And when you take the fire, what is fire? It is the experience of fire. So it is the experience of the different powers of fire, to burn, to give light, and so on, and to give heat, and so on. And everything is that. Everything is those powers. Anything is just what it can do, what it can do. Even to be visible is a Shakti. It is what a thing can do. Not only the taste, the weight, and the qualities, the properties, but everything. All is Shakti. This is Tantra. This is Tantra. All is Shakti. This is one thing. So, Tantra is not all about feminine, but some traditions say everything is Shakti. Everything is power. Everything is experience. All is consciousness means that. All is consciousness means all is experience. Whatever you have is just an experience, different facets, different sides of experience. And let's take, for example, a strawberry. We like to think that the strawberry does exist. It is made of matter. But if you take that strawberry, big red strawberry, okay? And you remove the appearance, the colors, the shape, the taste, the smell. What remains of the strawberry? Nothing. It means that everything is just experience, just taste, colors, sounds, smells, feelings. Everything is feeling. That is why it is so important, Shakti. That is what it means. Shakti is feeling. Everything is feeling, experience. That's the basis of it all. But now, just a second thing, if you would allow me. If we want to go beyond patriarchal things, we should be aware of its concrete ground in all the senses of the word. That ground is just a small little fact that men come too fast. If you look at the whole system, like a machine, if you like, it comes down to that. Imagine a world where men would last longer, like beyond the actual average. According to recent researchers, it's somewhere between 5 and 6 minutes. Okay? Imagine a world where men could last, 1 hour, 2 hours. The whole patriarchal system would collapse because its only ground is the fear of not being able to perform, to deliver. And so to bypass that fear, the natural tendency is to aim for orgasm as fast as possible. And because of that, all the rest follows. Everything follows from that. That is why Tantra, when I say Tantra, is the Shakti Tantra, okay? Not the patriarchal Tantra. That is why the Tantra stresses so much taking your time and tips and techniques especially for men to last longer. And the main thing for this is to go against the tendency to orgasm in the classical sense of the word.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to say for a start.
Yes. Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
it's not too crude.
Oh, it's practical, it's real, it's perfect for this space. And one of the things that came into my awareness when you were speaking is how, with everything being Shakti, how when we are all conceived, when we're all in the womb, we're actually all female. And some of us, become male, some stay female. A lot of people don't quite know that at a biological level. So that's just an interesting mirror physiologically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the Tantra tradition says that basically, yes, everything is Shakti, is a modification of Shakti. Even the male, even the God is a Shakti, and he is nothing beyond Shakti. So we don't even need, in a sense, we don't even need to go beyond patriarchal sex, because there is nothing beyond Shakti. It's just a matter of recognizing it, recognizing this fact and enjoying it and honoring this fact. And yes, everything is feminine in
So
that
you're
sense.
saying, right. So you're saying that patriarchal sex is just a manifestation of Shakti herself, itself.
Yes, of course, of course. It's part of the game of consciousness, of the game of the goddess, the play of the goddess.
Mm.
Of course, there is nothing outside it, because the inclusive view is first, because it is inclusive. And within that inclusion, there appears exclusion. But exclusion is just an expression, a manifestation of inclusion, of love, of Shakti.
Mm-hmm. I love that expansive perspective so much. And at the same time, because you said just enjoy it, there are very real reasons why a lot of women aren't enjoying what could be called a patriarchal sex paradigm. And lasting longer for the man is a big part of being able to meet the primordial life source in a woman's body for sure. But if he was lasting longer with the same approach, same methods, that would be maybe not as desirable as it could be either. So there's also the connection and reverence, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, of course. But first thing is that for the man to go against the urge to orgasm, which is not only patriarchal thing, which is very much natural, going back, I don't know, very, very far in the past to the very roots and origins of life, is such a journey that you cannot get on the other side just like you were before. It's not possible. It's not possible to go through that and remaining exactly the same. Of course, it's possible that things start again as it was before, but I don't believe it that much. Anyway, Tantra is practical. So the second step, the second advice, once you have gone against the natural, let's call it like that, the natural urge, which is very, very difficult for man. It's really like a death. It's very, 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 very difficult. Then the second step is identification, because identification, you see, usually in all the spiritual traditions, you say identification with the mind, with thoughts, with emotion is bad, okay? We try to go beyond self-identification, not identify yourself with your thoughts, with your past, with your emotions, with your body. All the traditions, especially in India, the advice us to do so. But Tantra is different. Tantra says that sensitivity, that power to identify with, to sympathize, to empathize, to feel together with a situation, with someone, is good. Only if you identify with something or someone that is good. So identification is both the problem and the solution. And in the context we are speaking about, man is advised to identify with woman. To identify with woman is the advice of Tantra. And especially you asked me, you requested me for a mantra. So what the tradition says, the best mantra are the sounds coming out from the throat of the beloved. And the best meditation or visualization is to stare into the eyes of the beloved. So man reaches awakening through woman means by identifying himself with the deepest feelings of the woman. So it's not possible to remain in patriarchal sex. It's not possible because the focus shifts from the man to the woman.
Yes.
And man learns to find his bliss in the bliss of the woman. Because what is most desirable is the desire of the other. This is what money can't buy. This is what power can't buy. This is the most difficult thing to get, to be desired and to see the desire of the woman, to see the desire of the other. This is the most exciting thing, isn't it? For a man to see an excited woman. And for that, he must shift from his own pleasure, from orgasm, to her feelings. He must identify. And this is very much possible because really Shakti is self-identification. So just in Tantra, we use that bad tendency we have to orgasm and to identify with, just we shift the object to the heart of the woman's feeling. It is not the woman's body. It is not an archetype. It's not a belief. It's not an idea. It's just to plunge directly, intuitively into the woman's feeling. That is the practice. That is the practice. That is the main practice. That is the heart of Tantra.
Yes, wonderfully said. Thank you. And, you know, being a woman who has experienced what could be called typical patriarchal sex, so very expanded, what could be called tantric lovemaking. It's like if a man is just following his own urge that you mentioned before, that natural urge, and there's certainly nothing wrong with wanting to orgasm, you know, it was one of the best experiences we can have being in a physical body, but in the way that it's likely that his nervous system is wired to experience that based on the conditioning that he's taken on from impressions that he has from the world, from movies, from pornography, from whatever else that imprints him with a very limited range of how much how much he's even connecting to his own internal energies. So looking into the woman, connecting with her, feeling, you know, through her even, right? Because our bodies are not just physical, right? We're portals, you know, and a woman is a portal to the outer universes. And so when he's connecting with her energy, he's kind of like entering through that portal, right? And he can also feel this expanded pleasure and different levels of orgasmicness in his own body too. But usually it's a much higher vibration or expanded, extended pleasure experience with the woman there being that, yeah, place of connection for him.
Yeah, that's the basic fact. Women have more orgasmic power. It's just a fact, okay? It's not a belief, it's not a choice, it's a fact. So let the men take advantage of this. Let them be wise, understand that, as you said, woman is not exactly a door, a portal. Tantra says so, but Tantra says also that woman is just Shakti, herself incarnate. So it's not that the body is an instrument or a mean. The body itself, the body herself is the divine, crystallized. It's the incarnate. It's the divine itself. It's not just a mean that you can use as a tool for something else. It's the divine itself. So it's really hard to grasp. But when you make love, you have the experience of that. That's what is wonderful. So man has to understand all this and to experience all this. One thing important to stress is that orgasm is not renounced. We have here to make a distinction between Buddhist Tantra, where orgasm is avoided completely, no orgasm at all, and Shaiva or Hindu Tantra, where orgasm is delayed but not denied. Okay, that's very important. The idea is that you will orgasm, but later on, as late as possible, and not maybe every time. Like maybe you can orgasm for a man means in classical sense of the word to ejaculate. As some people call it, spasmodic orgasm, to be more precise. Maybe once every 3 times, or once every two times, or once in a month, whatever you like, whatever you feel comfortable with. It's different cycles with different men. But it's not a denial of orgasm. It's not masochism. It's not like to sacrifice for the woman. It's rather a harmony, a meeting, a deeper meeting. And with that, man discovers a pleasure that he has never imagined. So this is what Tantra says with just a simple word in Sanskrit, chamatkara. Chamatkara means to delight, to taste. But to taste means to take your time. Because if you drink a great wine just because you are thirsty and to quench your thirst, you have no time to enjoy. To enjoy, it takes time. It takes time. So it's not a kind of torture, but it has some of it. It has some of it. Man must know that, and woman as well, must know that sex includes pain. Includes pain. Sex is not just enjoying and recreative activity and enjoyment and pleasure and leisure and so on and so forth. No, it's hard. It's hard. It's a complete practice. It's a complete practice for both men and women. It's a practice where you give yourself, you show yourself with all your weaknesses. And it's a practice also full of pain, because to go beyond patriarchal sex means also as well for women to go beyond the basic orgasm, to go beyond the feelings of pain. If you go into the G point, I don't know if in English you call it that way, the G point is painful. And to reach the next level of pleasure, you must be willing to go beyond the painful feelings and the fears, but also the physical painful feelings, the burn, the electricity, all the things, you must be ready for that. It's not just, oh, it's nice. No, not everything is nice. It's a fight. It's a fight. It's a death for a rebirth. It's an initiation. It's a complete practice. And that's that's wonderful. That's the divine in the body. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's extraordinary.
Yes,
It's a whole journey.
yes, it's like part of developing that gourmet taste rather than this, junk food, fast food approach where you cannot really experience that delight that you spoke about is not possible with that energy, with that consumptive approach.
Yeah. Yeah. It is like tea without sugar. Yes. You must discover the deeper flavors. But there is also intensity, greater than in usual sex. Greater. But there is also pain, and yes, there are kinds of barriers. There are some women that speak of maybe 7 or 8 levels to reach really the top of, and for men, it's more or less the same. Except that men do have a physical barrier, is that usually after 1 hour, they start feeling real pain because of problems of blood circulation, and they must take some rest. And then you can start again if you did not have orgasm. So all in all, there are pains. It's not just pleasure. So I mean to say that this whole thing is legitimate. It's not just that you take your pleasure and because in that practice, you learn all the virtues: renunciation, altruism, sacrifice, taking risk, transparency, honesty. All is included in that practice. This is very important to be aware of this, because often people feel guilty because, oh, I'm doing only my own things. I am self-centered. No, it's an opening. It's an opening. It's impossible. Of course, you're centered on your pleasure, but if your pleasure comes from the pleasure of the other, then you're centered on the other. It's like the mystics. To go beyond themselves, they go first into themselves. So to go in my pleasure is not the aim. The aim is far beyond. It's completely beyond everything. Completely beyond everything.
Yes.
Completely.
And another way that I could try to express that, it's like you're not hunting for a pleasure experience. It's in the staying connected to presence. It's in the staying tethered to awareness, consciousness. Pleasure can come and go in a way through the experience, and there can even be pain. And there shouldn't be too much pain, by the way, with what many women have renamed the goddess spot. But there is definitely dynamic tension there as a physical experience to breathe deeply through. An emotion can come and that can be difficult, and the vulnerability that's involved both ways is definitely challenged. So it's very evolutionary for us, isn't it? Because it's asking us to grow on multiple levels at the same time. It's not just about sexual technique to last longer or have expanded pleasure. Like you're saying, it's a very holistic experience.
Completely. And one more thing in that direction is that it also helps you with old age, with aging, with sickness, and with death. Because in that practice of going beyond patriarchal sex, you go as well beyond the fears connected with aging. because you discover a source of bliss, of joy that is beyond aging, because experience shows that the pleasure capacity remains to the very end of physical life. And that is what is beautiful. And in that way of making love, the physical appearance becomes secondary. This is another very important point, because you discover such a source of bliss that your aging appearance is less and less important, and you feel more and more liberated from this. And this is such a release that can be in a couple. You discover, you realize that you can love each other unto death, until physical death separates you. That's so wonderful. You're no more afraid of aging. You're no more afraid of even sickness, because you have discovered that source of bliss, which is beyond even sickness. I can say that here. And that can last until death. That is so important, so important, so important in a society, in a world which is all based on appearances. And appearances are good. It's okay to take care of appearances, of your appearance. It's also a way to take care of others. But to discover that you can continue on this way of bliss until death is such a release, such a liberation. It's way beyond getting more pleasure and lasting longer. It's way, way beyond. And that is why in the teachings of the yoginis themselves, there are teachings, oral teachings. Sex is not directly present, is not directly mentioned. Those practical details, they are not mentioned, because it's just an evocation of the bliss beyond. Once you have really plunged into that journey. It's a description. It's not abstract. It may sound like it is not abstract. It is a description of the very real experience of what happens when you go beyond the urge to orgasm. When you go beyond that door and you have the curiosity to look for yourself.
Yes.
That is so wonderful, such a freedom.
Yes, so much freedom, so much vast, infinite possibility really beyond that door that you just spoke about. And so I'm wondering, if the men especially listening, I mean, I know you've been on this path for a very long time now. If you remember what it might have been like for you before, how would you describe what it can take? Everyone has a different soul path and everything, but what can it take to bring yourself towards going beyond that door? Like, what's the motivation that you see works for your students, or, yeah.
I believe, again, here to be very practical, I believe masturbation is very important. Nothing is possible without that. If you don't practice your own body, nothing is possible. Because it's not right on the spot at the last minute that you will discover everything. No, It does not happen like this. And men are very much deluded because they can become hard and ejaculate. They believe they have got it. But this is no knowledge. Knowledge is after all this. we used to say that a woman must masturbate because for her it is more difficult and it is less easy to discover her own body. But it is as true for men. It is the man's body is also very complex, very subtle, many layers. So the first thing is that makes a difference is to explore and to start alone by masturbating without orgasm, without spasmodic orgasm. This is very important to this. This is not a denial of pleasure. This is a denial of spasmodic ejaculation, if you will, to be more practical. To masturbate without ejaculation. This is a very big thing that you can alone in a secure space. You can explore this, and then you can explore with your partner. This is very important. But then when you are together, it is a path. It is a path. It's not like you go beyond and all of a sudden and once and forever you're there. No, they are going back. There are you fall again and again, but you try and you try and you try, just like walking, just like anything in life. It's very natural. And man must know that it's very, very difficult. It's very hard to say why, but the feeling, it's an urge, okay? A very deep urge. It's not just patriarchal. It's really natural because nature has selected the people who could transmit their material as fast as possible, because in nature, the goal is survival. That's the first thing. So it's very, very, and men must know this and must not feel guilty because they fail. Failure is inevitable, but you can make progress slowly with the help of your partner. You can make progress. It's a whole life practice. It's not just a weekend or a week, or it's a whole life practice. And I am still on that path. I have not reached the end. In no measure.
Yes, that's what I say often as well. And it's really important what you've just described for men, because in the past, when 80% of the clients that I was working with were men in tantric bodywork sessions, they often did have this understanding that, oh, I just have to learn this technique and then I'll have a tantric experience. And it's actually not, that's not practical at all. So it's absolutely what you're saying. It's a new relationship with yourself and your body and your own sexual current, and knowing it yourself viscerally from the inside of your own felt sense, so that you can know how to stay with this inner attention in your own body when you're with a woman, because that's really the test or the challenge in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. So practically, it will change many things. For example, music. Many people, they used to put very loud music when making love. That happens often. But the problem is that this might distract you from your inner feelings. It's harder to remain connected. So maybe you will like to put lighter music. And just the same for alcohol or drugs or psychedelics, which are very popular nowadays. I don't have a judgment about psychedelics, but ayahuasca and LSD and all the things, they are very popular now.
Yes.
And many people, they believe that in Tantra, it's full of psychedelics. And we could believe that it is so, yes, because we see Tantra as the world of experiments, crazy experiments, extreme experiments, and it's true in some ways. But there are no psychedelics in Tantra. This might come as a surprise, but there is no psychedelics. The only thing used is in Tantra, in traditional Tantra, I say, is red wine.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Red wine, food, and sex. That's it. Why red wine? Because red wine has some, or white wine, that's all, I mean, it's possible, has some special properties, special qualities. Special. So a little bit of red wine is okay. A little bit of peaceful music is okay. But then it's for everyone to experiment what is possible, the level of connection to your feelings. But especially for men, it's really hard to stay connected, to keep contact with the inner feelings, because really it's difficult to give tips because it's different for everyone, and it's different even for one person according to his age, his physical condition, and other things as well. Is that you will like more massage, you will eat differently, maybe you will do more exercise, because make no mistake, if you don't exercise at all, if you smoke, if you drink, if you spend too much time on screens, it's not possible, all this. Too much, the more time you spend on screens, the lower your testosterone will be. So you must exercise, you must do muscles, you must use your brain and do things like that. It's a whole way. It's a whole way of life. It's a holistic exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just coming back to something you were saying, like I would never claim that orgasm itself could be patriarchal. It's more the perception of woman and woman's body in particular, and this sense of entitlement that's drawn from outside of a man in the context of the culture around him that somehow imprints him with this sense of permission to, be with and usually take from a woman in a certain way, in a very quite pre-programmed way, like is enacted in typical pornography, right? And so to unravel from where that has gripped him inside, it's great that you've given some really practical clues. And even with the music, the sort of faster or loud or kind of hot frequency music is not particularly helpful if you want to draw out the experience and feel deeper.
Yeah.
So yeah, the softer and um, yeah, a down regulating frequency in the music would help to tap into that parasympathetic nervous system state more easily.
Mm. Yeah, the most beautiful music is the breath of the beloved, and whatever sounds she makes. That is to make love as well. That is what traditional. That is what the tradition says. It's not me. It's not me. The tradition says so. And so it's very, very simple. It's so simple. It's not to bother about esoteric techniques. It's really an opening of the heart. Because all you said, all that culture is based on fear,
Yeah.
And the remedy is really love. Love, based on practical experimentation, based on practice with the body incarnate. That's very important. But it's very simple. There is no secret techniques that will allow you to bypass your fears. No.
Mm.
No. It's very simple, but very difficult. Very difficult. This is a noble way, a noble path. And for men, they can be proud of that. It's not to become inferior to women. To become inferior, in fact, is, yes, men have to submit to women. But to submit is to become powerful. That's the paradox. It's all about paradoxes. That's how it is. That's so wonderful.
Women often ask me how they can get their partner into this exploration of living beyond patriarchal sex. And my answer is often this: to firstly open a wider discussion by listening to a podcast episode here together, and to take the patriarchal sex survey together, which you will find a link for under the description with each episode. You could also share this episode and discuss it with friends. And you can be part of this women's community where you will deepen relationship with yourself first, which then brings a different version of you to intimacy with highly effective practices. You can do this through a private mentoring intensive with myself, in group events happening globally online and sometimes in person. So join the email list from the tigresspath.com website to free yourself as a woman and be part of this evolution.
That's so wonderful. That's why the mystical language is full of paradoxes. And I would like to stress that the Christian tradition, which is mainly our tradition, whether we want it or not, the Christian tradition has a huge sexual potential. I hope people will not misunderstand me here, but the Christian tradition is maybe the tradition nearest to Tantra, because it's the most sexual sensitive tradition. If you read all the mystical teachings of the great mystics, it's just like a description of what we're speaking about here. Just the same. So I propose here that those traditions are fully compatible. Of course, official from the church would say it's a heresy. Okay, it's a heresy. But I like to be optimistic, because there is one Australian priest who has translated the chapter on sexual practice from the Tantra Aloka of Abhinavagupta, the main text on sexual practice in Tantra. It has been translated by an Australian priest of French origin, John Dubois. And so it's a fine example of what might be possible. His book is called, he wrote two books. One translation, it's called The Kula Ritual. And another is from Tantra, from Christianity to Tantra. So those are not very interesting books in themselves, because he's an official priest. Okay, he cannot go beyond some limits. It's already something that he has been allowed by his hierarchy to publish this. But what I mean to stress here is the direction. There is a path here to be explored for those among us who feel they have deep Christian roots and who don't want to cut those roots just like that. Yeah. There is a way for them. It's possible. Go into the mystics and you will be surprised, and you will be inspired into your embodied practice.
I would really like to read his writing, but you're not even speaking specifically about Mary Magdalene's missing gospel. You're not even meaning that, are you? Yeah.
I'm speaking of the official mystics of the church, the big church, the Roman Catholic Church. People like Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila, the big ones. The big ones.
Yes, I do have the erotic poetry of Saint Teresa of Avila, especially, and others. Yes.
So, and also lesser known ones like Hadewig of Antwerp, who is the best, the number one. and she would deserve to. I mean, it's a yogini teaching. It's a yogini teaching. It's just a hint I give here. If people want to look for themselves, it's Advige of Antwerp. She wrote letters, visions, and poetry. The full teaching is there. The full teaching is there. Everything is there.
That's really wonderful. Thank you for offering that. Um, because I asked you this question initially around masculine and feminine and polarity and relationship, I wanted to go a little more into what you just said before about the empowerment for a man in submitting. And what is he submitting to? Is it the woman? Is it Shakti?
That's a very deep question. I don't know if I could answer that because it's the question of when you love someone, whom do you love? What do you love? What's the real object? Tantra says it is the divine realizing herself through different bodies, through different personalities, through different masks. Okay. When I love someone, who is it I love? That's almost impossible to answer that question because it's full of traps. Well, I'm basically, remember, I'm basically a philosopher. It's a very tough question. I don't believe there is any rightful, complete answer to this. But we don't need. What I would invite people is really to feel, to discover, to be optimistic. You see, the teachings, they are not there to give you the informations. They are not there to give you a knowledge you did not have. They are here to comfort your own intuitions, to give you confidence in what you have always already known, but never trusted. They are here to give your trust back into what you have always believed at your deepest core. They're just a little help on the way to put you back on the right track. Because after all this is natural. We have the powers. It's not giving us something we don't have. It's reminding us. Reminding, comforting, giving confidence, trust, assurance. That is all. It is very humble. It's almost nothing. Details. The goddess is hiding in details.
Yes. And before everything that I offered was to only to the people that are interested actively in anything tantric, right? And with this project, it's got a more broad audience. And I am aware
Hmm.
that a lot of people are taking in these very kind of contracted, limited ideas that are getting passed around with many masculinity coaches and people trying to understand and interpret polarity. Um, and a lot of men at the moment have the impression that it is detrimental to his masculinity to ever consider a state of surrender. And so I really hope and trust that our listeners can not only hear and receive your words from your very experienced perspective, as someone especially who really understands Sanskrit, which is such a root language of humanity, and as I've heard it, not just it originates in India, but it's not just for Hindus, it's for all of humanity. And
Yeah.
but there's a frequency that you're speaking from. So not just listening to your words, but feeling this tangible energy that's being transmitted here to show that the current modern Western interpretations that are typical in the masculinity coaching space are incredibly limited, actually, in the understanding of what they're attempting to talk about. And I understand that positive intention is to not let go of their masculinity, that they want to strengthen it. But there's a misunderstanding that that they're being feminized or something like that in a way that's detrimental to their development. And so this is just so much more textured and vast than those typical conversations that we're
Yeah. Yeah, I think here we could make a distinction between the LGBT agendas and discussions and sexuality discussions. Everything sexual does not need to be in the context of LGBT discussions. It can be, of course it's connected, but it can be distinguished. So men have no need to be afraid of losing their masculinity. It's the opposite. It's all a paradox. You see, Saint John of the Cross, he says, if you want all, you must renounce all. It's very simple. If you want all, you must renounce all. It is so simple. And in sex, it's just the same. You can be very much feminine. What do you lose? Women have obviously more sexual power, more orgasmic power. So what do you lose becoming more feminine? What do you lose? You gain everything. I mean, it's all beneficial for you. And if you learn to postpone or to give time to orgasm on the hormonal level, it's very good. It's excellent. You have more testosterone. Instead of masturbating in front of pornographic things where you put your testosterone levels lower and lower and lower, and all the things that follow from this, here you become more and more powerful, more and more masculine, and your cognitive capacities increase as well. So yeah. It's all good. Everyone is happy. It's a win-win. There is no loss here.
Absolutely.
And even if you want to try more feminine ways of sexuality being a man, you don't lose anything. I mean, I don't see that homosexuals, gay men, are less masculine, or I don't see that they have less sexual power. Do we see this? No. We usually see that gay men, they have a very active sexual life, that they have very much power, a lot of charisma. So it's a very good example, also a very good model for heterosexual men to follow as well. You don't lose anything. I have been once in a neo-tantra event which was co-animated by gay tantra facilitator. It was very nice because those people, they have a lot to teach to heterosexual men in their relationship with women as well. It's all good. I don't feel anything bad in all that. Then the LGBT movement, when it becomes an ideology about transgendering with children, how it should be, this is a whole different topic. But when we speak about sexuality, intimacy between two consenting adults, it's all good. There is nothing to be afraid of. It does not mean that it's quite the opposite, because to be able to postpone my orgasm, I have to have more muscles. I have to do some physical activity, to do sport. I have to be more masculine. It's quite the opposite. Researchers have shown that the lower the testosterone level is, the fastest the orgasm is. So when you are more masculine, you have more sexual power. So it's all the opposite. And all that is possible because you submit to the feminine. Of course. And there is a big tradition. It's the tradition of how do you call it in English? Courteous love. That whole tradition that started in France, in the south of France, the tradition of loving a woman for her service, like a knight, not like a crazy barbarian warrior, but
Okay.
like a courteous love. That's
Yeah.
where it all started, that civilization. Courteous love, poetry. This is so beautiful. It rises you. It makes you want to look better, to speak better, to sound better, to eat better. It's all good. It's all good. I don't think anything bad in it. There is no danger. Of course, it's very difficult. It comes at a price, yes,
Mm.
but the reward is beyond imagination, beyond imagination. It's not just personal growth. It's the absolute, the infinite. It's beyond everything, beyond everything. You really realize yourself, you start to see the light, really the real light through the body, with the body, the real light. You don't renounce the body. It's incredible because it sounds impossible. you get everything. How could that be possible? Yes, you get everything because you renounce everything. It's so simple. Very difficult, but it is a thing of warrior. Yes.
Yes, a thing of the warrior. Yeah, that's interesting because I've been in this inquiry recently about maybe there's a new like archetype to emerge for modern men to connect with because it's a bit of the lover, it's a bit of the warrior. It's really an integration of all of them. Um,
Yeah.
but something that makes him want to go beyond his human identity and just empowering that um, sense of egoic self and desiring it to go beyond that. A little bit like a male version of Chinamasta. It's just
Yeah.
kind of missing
Yeah.
as an inspiration from what I see. Yes.
Yeah, and that is also discovering the feminine parts of your body, the sensitive parts of your body. This is very important because if you're all centered on the genital parts alone, it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Yes.
You have to discover. You have to discover. But that is again different for each man. So it's hard to say. But all of us have other areas that are sensitive and that can be awakened. That is very important. Yeah. So again, I want to stress that being able to just release the need to orgasm, the urge orgasm, is not sufficient, but it is necessary. It is necessary. That
Yes.
is the ground of it all.
Yes. It's not the whole path, but it's a necessary foundation to be on that
It's the
path.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the foundation. It's not possible without this.
Yes.
Because when you discover this, when you have your first experiences of that, you really get an initiation, a new start, a feeling, a taste of a new world possible, a new world of possibilities. And this is really a big change in your life. A small thing can make a big change. Really,
Yeah.
really. In all your life, in all the areas of your life, in all their, because when testosterone, people believe that testosterone is just aggressivity, muscles, but testosterone is also the cognitive capacities, memory, concentration. So it might help you in your daily life beyond what you can imagine. Really, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I listened recently to one of the biggest podcast platforms in the world, and I heard the host saying that it seems like a contradiction that a woman would desire a man that is, say, both tender and strong or tough. And he was just saying it's a contradiction. And so it's just typical in modern psychology for a lot of Western people, at least, that there is this sense of not exploring, not understanding paradox for a start. And it's just like that's the end of the conversation. Whereas this realm that you work in, David, it's like that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the conversation. And then
Yeah,
everything else is possible from there.
yeah. And if there is contradiction, let it be. Let it be. That's good. That's the drive. That's the drive, contradiction. There are two forces. You know, Tantra is not just one. No, it's two. Two, relationship, relation. That is so important. And I would like to add as well, because some people might wonder, this is no cultural appropriation, okay? Because Tantra is part of Indian culture. Indian culture is part of Indo-European culture. So it's very much European, despite what some Indians say nowadays. So it's very near to our root. And beside this, it's universal. Stop. That's the only
Yes.
thing there is to say about this. There is no cultural appropriation about it. It's our own roots. It's natural. It's universal. It's not Indian. It's not Indian. It's
Yes.
universal. So there
Yes.
is nothing bad there. No guilt.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And I wonder in because in the way of the yogini, you talk about this perception of women being both pure and impure in their sexual nature, or just in the abundance of Shakti being perceived in that way. And so sex being associated to or belonging to woman, which is so very different to the current modern paradigm. I wondered if you could speak on that a little, wherever you feel inspired, because it's like, if I make a positive assumption about the pornography paradigm, it's like putting Shakti in a cage, in a box, and thinking that they have some control over her in consuming that. Like I'm making the positive assumption of they know that they want to connect. They know that that's a power source to plug into, but the way that that all plays out is bringing this impression that you've got to take it from her, and you're the one that has to be in this conquest energy as a man. And degrading her, especially currently, with what young people are learning, with extreme practices, with kids that haven't had sex before are being told that strangulation is something that they should be experiencing, and this is one of the things I'm quite concerned about for the younger generation moving forward. If this is their starting point, if they're so far from what is natural as their starting point. So that's one thing, but also just this ancient perspective that sex belongs in a way to the woman, to the feminine. And when women are really in right relationship with themselves and the feminine principle and their own bodies, like that's what we are. We want to give that, but it's not from the pornographic frame.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a specialist of pornography, but I see what you mean. And it's all based on the same fear. But now, I must add, it's also coming with into the woman's world, because you know maybe that the main rival of men nowadays is this little thing called womanizer. I don't know if you heard of it. I suppose in English it's called the same name, the womanizer. And I say that because yesterday in the subway, I saw an advertisement for women, for the womanizer, saying, it was saying 30 minutes to go to your job, 2 minutes to come.
Oh, the device called that? Okay, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the device. So you see this 2 minutes to come. Now it's the same also, the same slogan for women. The argument of speed, the argument of speed. And on the extreme practices, well, Tantra has nothing against it. It's for everyone to explore what they mean by extreme. About the young people, yes, this is a catastrophe, but this is also a catastrophe about transgender things. I see, I'm working in high school. I used to work in high school, and they are distributing comic books about how to transgender, how to change, to transition, how to transition. So everything about the new generation is crazy. With the AI, with everything is crazy. With what happens to cognitive capacities, to linguistic capacities, everything is crazy. So I don't think pornography is the culprit here. The screen is more because whatever is on screen is more difficult. Like even here we are speaking, but on screen it's not the same if we were speaking in bones and flesh. And about men, about conquest, I would say conquest is not possession. It's not the same thing. If a man has this conquistador, this is not the right word. If a man has this warrior stance, this energy, this fire stance, this is not bad. But then if he wants to possess, in the sense of making an object, then he is losing it. Because the pleasure he's really getting is from the fact that he is with a subject, not an object. So wanting to make the woman an object goes against his own pleasure, really, because you're not, because an object is not excited, and if your partner is not excited, you're not excited yourself. This is the very basic flow of power seeking. You want to be in power, so you want to transform everyone into an object, but then you live in a meaningless world, in a tasteless world, because everyone is your slave, so you don't get any feeling anymore. Yes. So contradiction. Whereas when I surrender, I submit, I surrender, I let go, and I get everything. This is the good paradox. This is the good paradox. There is a bad and a good paradox, like everything. There is a good and a bad version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. There's certainly nothing wrong with desire itself and desiring to have connection with a woman's body. Certainly nothing wrong with that. But the motivation of power and control is a level of distortion, that is part of what makes up the definition of, the limitation of patriarchal sex, if we're to define it. And
yeah, this is fear. This is fear.
Yes,
this
it is
fear.
fear. Yes, truly.
This is why massage is a good thing, but this is not enough. Other practices which are very good for men would be writing, poetry. The good old practices, writing, poetry, singing. Our culture is not only patriarchal, it has also some very good practices, very good practices, some very good customs, at least here in France. The way of the the art of dating. How do you invite someone? How do you eat? How do you prepare things? How do you dress up? How do you perfume yourself? All the things, it's very important. Yeah, the lights, the ambience, all that is part of this.
Yeah.
This is civilization. This is civilization in the best sense of the word. This is very good.
Yes, yes. That I love it how that's such a part of French culture. It's very contrasting to the Australian culture that I grew up with, that's for sure.
Yeah, maybe. It's true that France has a great cuisine, has a great cooking tradition, and aristocratic tradition. That's a very good basis, because aristocracy has a very bad reputation, but this is very wrong, because aristocracy has learned for long how to transform raw instincts into something more refined. This is what knighthood is all about.
Mm.
This is what the Middle Ages are all about. And this is why Middle Ages is such a great source of inspiration, I believe. Because it's not all about barbarians, things. No, it's very much refined. The relationship between men and women is very, very refined. Very refined. It is a great source of inspiration.
Yeah, it's so aspirational, so much attention on beauty and poetry and subtlety and yeah.
Yes, the very word being courteous comes from there, the French court, the king's court, being courteous, because this is where it all started.
Yes. Perhaps we can come towards a completion for now, David, with a
Yeah.
bit, a bit of awareness on. I've heard you talk about surrendering wider and deeper than oneself, and so I love that you've brought in how Western culture is not all bad per se, not all patriarchal. And at the same time, it is very personality self-focused, isn't it? And it's part of what Eastern philosophy really, can bring to us and widen our lens of perception into the value of surrendering wider and deeper. Could you mention something about that?
Yeah. So there is a difference between being egotistic and loving one's self. There is a big confusion there, especially in spirituality nowadays. Personal growth, spirituality, is very much self-centered. That is centered on your individuality, separate individuality. I must love myself. I must take care of myself. I must protect my own interest, make my own choices, my decisions, and so on and so forth. It is true that in the East, it is more about impersonal self. But now I would not say this no more. Because I feel actually in the West we have everything. That might sound shocking coming from a person who is supposed to speak about Tantra. A little bit out of tune, but I must be honest. There is everything, because the impersonal side, awakening to the impersonal reality, does exist, is there in the Western traditions. In Stoicism, for example, which is coming back very strong now. The cosmos, the universe, the impersonal rationality, the harmony, the cosmic harmony. So it's there. But the West has also brought to the fore the value of the individual. The value of the... And that is not completely absent in India, because after all, in India, we speak of the Absolute as the Self, Atman. After all, it's the self. So the word means something. It's self, it's I am, aham. And so in fact, I would say in modern spirituality, we lack opening to others, a greater view, a collective view. That is probably, yes, lacking for now. But I feel that it is coming back, the need for ritual, collective rituals. And I'm not too much in a hurry for this, because when the collective comes back, usually it comes back with lots of stupidity. So I'm in no hurry for this. And in India, in the Tantra tradition, we say that egoism hides a way out. Because if you really go to the end of that egotistic, self-centered love, you find yourself into universal space, the self. Because all self-love is in fact a love of the self, but an incomplete. If you go to the end of self-love, you will find the love of self, the love of the goddess. And that is why in Tantra, the supreme mantra, the ultimate mantra is I. I. In Sanskrit, it is aham. Aham. And it is also a very big symbol, because A is the first letter, of the alphabet, both in Sanskrit and Western alphabet, same. First letter A, the primordial sound. And then there is Ha, the last letter in the Sanskrit alphabet. And Ha is also the out-breath, is the Shakti, is life, because consciousness is first of all life, the in and out breath. So it is the union of Shiva and Shakti. Shiva A, Shakti Ha, Aha. And when they unite, they engender this body, this child that we are, those children we are, symbolized by the dot, individuality, the dot, the contraction, the dot. And in Sanskrit, the dot is So it makes aham. The union of Shiva and Shakti engenders us, individuality. Those three, Shiva, Shakti, and the individual, are called the three mysteries. The mystery of God, the mystery of the Father, the mystery of the Mother, and the mystery of the child. That means that our individuality is a mystery as well, that it is a holy thing, that it is sacred, that it is willed. It is willed. It is not an accident. It is not an illusion. It is a manifestation, and it is potentially a realization. If we go back, the individual, mother, father, union. If we go back, if the individual goes back through Shiva and Shakti, through the union, then he, she will realize, accomplish her goal, her aim, the meaning of life, the meaning of it all. Aham.
Yeah.
So this is the best mantra. We can even recite mentally I. When we feel completely scattered outside of ourselves, we can just recite mentally inside and feel together I. I. The I that starts with Ah again, I. And what it feels, I. The I-ness, the I feeling. That's very, very, very powerful. That can be a red thread in your life.
So beautiful, David. I feel like you've been so generous with everyone listening here today. So thank you so much. And you've been mentioning mantra, and I would love to invite you to share one. But just before we do that, um, how can people connect with your teaching? Do you offer workshops? You have many books, and I'll make sure the links are shown there for everyone.
Well,
But what about events or training? What do you offer?
thank you for asking. Well, there's just another book which has come out. It is, I show it to you because this is the manual I use for my online course.
Okay.
So I call it the Yoga of the Goddess in English. In French, it was the 4 yogas because it's the 4 main practices of Tantra. And this is a small manual that I use as the basis for the online course. So there is one online course starting next October. And as for workshops, and there is nothing as yet because I'm just about to start in the English-speaking world. Until now, I have been only in the French world until now.
Yes, yes. Otherwise, I would have heard about you much sooner, I'm sure. And with
Yes, it just started.
your online course, is that French only?
No, this is full English.
Okay.
This is full English. This is 9 months, full English course. There is a first year about this initiation. Then there is a second year with topics changing every year so that people can continue if they wish.
Oh, that sounds really fantastic. So it's very beautiful to meet you here today, even through the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so much richness of your knowledge and experience. And so I really do feel really grateful that you could come and share your wisdom on this podcast and for this project. And is there any mantra that you feel inspired to share? And we will end after that so everyone can just be in the feeling that receiving the mantra creates for them.
So maybe we can share a mantra here. A very simple mantra where you sit like that with your eyes closed, and that sound of that mantra is called in Sanskrit visarga. Visarga means projection, creation. It's the mantra of ecstasies, and it is a sound of Sanskrit sacred language. So this sound is just breathing in, and then you exhale with the deepest part of your throat, making that sound. And this mantra is just like the aham or the I practice. It connects you directly to the sense of bliss. And one advantage is that you can practice in public places because it can be very soft so that people won't believe you're crazy or call the police or whatever.
David, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Devashi. I wish you the best, and I wish also the best to the people who listen to us. Thank you very much.
Now that you just listened to this episode, tell me about your experience of this. In the new voice note feature, you'll see a link for it underneath the description. Whether you're a man or a woman, I welcome you to express yourself. Tell me what you want to hear more about. Ask a question or share a perspective that you want to bring. Even if you disagree, it's all welcome. And I will respond to your message by weaving it into future episodes. When you subscribe to this podcast or share it with friends or leave a review, know that it genuinely does help to bring more interesting speakers into this project, which is inspiring more people to have genuine connection and understanding and love and intimacy. And may we all be free from suffering.